Johnathan Gullis is back on TV. And once again, he's talking nonsense. This time he's talking about the UK-EU Youth Mobility Scheme. You know, the kind of thing that lets young people travel, work and experience life across Europe. But to Gullis, it's apparently the second coming of the Great Migration Panic. He warns it could open the floodgates to tens of millions of EU migrants, casually lumping Albania and Turkey in there, countries that aren't even in the EU. Then Caroline Lucas steps in, and thank God she does, because she calmly, methodically dismantles the entire scare tactic. She reminds him that Turkey isn't in the EU, Albania isn't either, and we've never seen millions of young people flood in from these countries, even when the UK was part of freedom of movement. It's fear-mongering, pure and simple. So what's actually being proposed? A capped reciprocal scheme to give young people access to the UK and the EU, the opportunity to live and work abroad, a privilege many of us once took up for granted before Brexit slammed that door shut. This isn't about mass migration, it's about repairing some of the cultural and economic damage done by the decision that Gullis himself championed.
The big thing that's sat on the table is the future of this EU youth mobility scheme, or is it youth experience scheme now that Keir Starmer's trying to desperately brand? What does that look like? Will it be capped or not? It seems quite odd to have had a big speech last week about migration and then be opening the door to potentially allow tens of millions of migrants coming from the EU. So undermines the very argument. Well, reality is, I mean, we don't know, for example, will Albania be able to bring people over as someone who's applying to join the EU? Will Turkey? You know, we'll be back there again.
I mean, you are just reheating all of the Brexit arguments, and they didn't work very well before, and they're not working now. I mean, the idea that this youth mobility scheme is somehow going to open the floodgates to Turkey is just, frankly,
well, they want to be members of the EU, Caroline.
Yes, I know, but they're not members of the EU, are they? And we haven't had millions of people coming before, and we're not going to have them now. What we are going to have, I hope, is some way for our young people to have an opportunity to travel to other European countries and for them to come here. There is going to be a cap, that's been said. And, you know, young people absolutely deserve some good news. For heaven's sake, they've got a pretty rough deal right now, and we all benefited from that kind of deal, and they should be able to as well. The idea it's a landmark agreement, I think, is pushing it somewhat. I'm very glad it happened. I'm glad the conversations are happening, but it's got to go much further than this. You know, the EU accounted for 41% of our exports. This is our most near neighbour and the most important neighbour. I think we should be going back into the customs union and genuinely doing something for the economy as well as for our young people.
See, Caroline Lucas hit the real point there. Our young people have had a rough deal. Lockdowns, economic uncertainty, and now travel restrictions. Giving them access to opportunities abroad isn't just good policy, it's basic fairness. And it's also good diplomacy. It's a tiny step towards fixing our fractured relationship with one of our most important trading partners. So when Gullis tries to spin this as a national security risk, it's not just dishonest, it's really cynical. This isn't a backdoor into Brexit Britain, it's just a chance for our kids to live in the kind of open, connected lives our parents once enjoyed. Gullis can try and reheat the same tired Brexit arguments, but people realise that their oven-ready deal was still frozen in the middle, and I doubt people will buy it anymore. Now we just need the British media to start asking sensible questions rather than just parroting the lines of reform, which you can see him doing in the video that's on screen now. So go watch that next. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.